Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you so much for joining me and my guests. Today we will be visiting Ward 1, and as our tour guide, I suppose, we'll start off with the city councilor from that ward, Dave McCarthy. Dave, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure. Next to Dave is Paul Costello, city engineer.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. First time, my opportunity. Yes.
My first time in general. Yeah.
Great. I'm glad to be the interviewer to bring you into the studio.
Thank you.
Actually, I shouldn't say I brought you in. It's the person next to me, Joe Shea from Granite City Partners, that suggested, Paul, that you join us today. So welcome, and welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for having us back.
Great to have you. I think the last time we got together, or at least most of us got together, was on the public safety complex, the public safety headquarters, which is due again, I think, for an update.
It is. We are sweeping floors and cleaning windows, really coming around the bend on the public safety headquarters. The outside of the public safety headquarters, the front lawn and grass work still needs some work, so it doesn't look as completed as it is. But on the inside, the move will start in October and hopefully be fully moved by November. But that project continues to surge forward.
Very good. And again, to provide an update on this program would be fantastic at some point.
Happily.
And Dave, today though, we're talking about seawalls.
Managed seawall. Joe and Paul and company were very instrumental in phase 1 that we took from the Willows up to Chickatobit. It's had great success in regards to not only refortifying the seawall, but drainage was our big concern, as we all know that water's going to come over that wall in a good storm. But our drainage, our outfall pipes, there were 20 some odd outfall pipes. We looked at it inside and out, and it is really working well. So now we have gone to phase 2, which is the managed seawall that these gentlemen are back involved in, and we'll take it from the Willows, which is at Babcock Street, and man it right down to Perry Beach, and go through the motions again with the seawall, the drainage. And it's a different approach too. There is a, you're not right on top of the wall like C Street. You've got a lot of private properties involved. There's a lot of issues with us making sure that this wall gets refortified because it's right on Manat Ave. And these gentlemen are going to take us through a slide presentation today. I think cover everything from A to Z.
Well, I was going to say, Joe, I know this program is a show and tell of sorts because we do have a laptop next to you. Folks will get to see these images as we talk about them. I don't know, could we call up that first image of the area that Dave has been talking about?
Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. Yes. Many of the viewers will know this location quite well. But this is basically from the Howes Neck Rock to Perry Beach, Parkhurst Street, Bayswater area, the low-lying beach that's got a boatyard, loading dock, and a surge wall. The project ends pretty much at the flood protection wall, where the earth starts to rise up tremendously and the seawall ends. So it's about 3,000, I'm going to be very technical, but it's, I'll say 3/4 of a mile. We'll let Paul go over the super technical details. And it goes through a few backyards, but it goes through a great many private properties along the way, which makes it a little bit of a unique project from a permitting standpoint.
I was going to say, how was that dealt with?
Well, it was, again, with Manat Ave, going back to mentioning C Street, there was no in between. This is, somebody's residence. You've got the street, you've got the private property, and there's a lot of gazebos, a lot of stairs. I think Paul's going to touch on some of those little details that makes it a little bit different. And as we go through the package, we'll talk about how we get in contact, what the procedure is to go through. I believe there's 53 properties involved. 60 total, 7 of them are cities, yes, along with private stairs and public stairs. I think private stairs, and Paul will discuss that a little bit, and public stairs will be rebuilt along with drainage. So we had lessons learned from that phase one. Some good lessons learned, but this will be a little more of a challenge with the private property on that side of the wall, on that side of the street rather, right above the wall.
And we're dealing with a 100-year-old wall.
Yeah, in the package, Mark, there's a little, as Joe indicated, a little timeline going back to 1916,
That is correct.
and we'll bring you right up through there and show kind of the repair work that has been done. But it's been a long time since we got a new wall, which I think we're way overdue to have a new wall for the residents down there, in regards to safety and a lot of security too for Manat Ave, because it sits right on the brim. It's right along the water, so it should work out very well.
You do have that history page called up.
I do, yes. I had the pleasure of doing some of the research on the history of this wall. That included talking to the other Joe Shea, who gave me a robust history of everybody involved.
Your dad.
My father, correct. But in 1916, the Manat Ave seawall was built. We found the newspaper articles. It was commissioned by then Mayor Joseph Whitten. I've been told he was a Ward 1 councilor plus a state rep and a senator. Many of us may know Whitten Park and Whitten Ave. They happen to be in a different ward.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, yeah, definitely linked to the gentleman who played many roles for the city of Quincy. The original seawall was built for a whopping $21,000 100 years ago. Makes us all cringe.
It's a little higher now.
It's a little bit
It's 5
higher.
feet.
And the research indicated that some interesting facts. It was built in association with the extension of Furnace Brook Parkway all the way to Wollaston Beach. They were part of the same state package. And it was built by a Crowley Construction of Quincy. What was also of great interest to me, because we will be returning to it now 100 years later, is in 1916, individual property owners had to sign off, each and every one of them, on the wall. So a great many things, such as the cost of construction, has changed. A couple things haven't changed, and that's getting the written authorization of all of the private property owners along the way.
I was going to say, well, with the sea level rise, obviously, that's become an issue over the years. The waters are getting closer to properties now.
Well, in regards to Manat, you have that low end at the beginning at the Willows that we're looking at, and we've looked at really hard, and then it elevates a lot, all the way up. I think till you get to before you get to Malvern, which is a side street. You have a dip that we've had issues recently in storms down below on Manat Ave. Then it rises up again, and then it goes down at the end into the Brinsley, Orleans Street area, down by Perry Beach, down by Bayswater, which the houses are down right on. They're not up above. They're down on that beach. So it really needs to be looked at. We know that seawall needs some tender loving care sooner than later, but that's going to get some attention probably and it'll probably be the first place we start to try to take care of that issue. But
I was going to ask Paul, to align a seawall, what is involved in the process?
So we let engineers generally speak in terms of elevation. The top of the existing wall is about elevation 11. And we're seeing tides today. As you mentioned, sea level rise is happening. So we're trying to increase the height of the wall, maintain the aesthetics for people that are living on the wall. So as Dave said, during the first phase of work, a lot of lessons learned. We met with the general public. There was a lot of dialogue about raising the wall 2 feet or 4 feet. And we settled on the 2 feet. However, we're designing the foundation so that we can add 2+ feet in the future as sea level rise comes in.
Now, that's true with other seawalls in your area, correct?
that it's true with the phase one all the way up.
Right.
And as Paul said, we had a lot of lessons learned. We had a lot of dialogue. I think this go around, one of the things we've been talking about having community meetings and getting there. And we just didn't. We wanted to make sure we're close to 100% with our answers. We went in a couple times early, and there were a lot of a lot of questions. And I, this time we're making sure we cover all our bases, and we have most of the answers to the residents' questions this time going around. But we did learn a lot from the first go around.
And seawall types, I mean, through the years too, that there's materials that have changed, but even nowadays there are different types of seawalls.
Right. So you can have a revetment stone, which serves to break the wave action. But in our case, where the wall is above the revetment area, there's a curvature to the wall. So as the wave action hits the wall, you want the waves to curl and not erode the ocean, the beach below it.
Very good.
So yeah, a lot of thought has gone into it, an awful lot.
One thing we learned about this wall through the historic research as part of permitting is this wall built in 1916 or started in 1916, had a 1941 repair, had a 1965 repair, had a 1973 repair. This wall has only been repaired in 100 years, which is why you have this at places hodgepodge of seawall layout type, revetment, no revetment, curved walls, not curved walls. This project is a holistic replacement of the foundation system, the wall type, the elevation. This is a 100-year redo of the wall, total replacement.
And we've got the curved wall on Maynard Ave pretty much all the way down till we get to a street called Oswego at the top. And then that Brinsley area, it's a straight wall. And it's a very, very old wall. There's no curve at all. It's just straight up. And probably the oldest seawall around, down bottom down there. But that'll be all brought up to speed on this exercise.
And talk about the role that Quincy granite has played in this particular wall.
That was a lovely find. What we learned is in 1916, when the original wall was permitted and bid, the Quincy granite industry put on a push. We found a newspaper article about how they had the wall design in 1917 changed such that the wall was capped with city granite, Quincy granite, which makes a lot of sense to have had an industry so close, just all the way across in West Quincy, provide the product to cap the wall. So I'm intrigued as we unearth portions of this existing wall through this process, what we might find buried in the embankment. We will be unearthing
Interesting.
110 years, 108 years of efforts.
Well, we
A
just
little archaeological trip.
just mentioning, I know that residents have brought up to me up on that Oswego end towards Brinsley, so towards Perry Beach, there's strawberries that grow up there. But the strawberries all grow around World War II submarine nets that are on the embankment.
Okay.
So I'm sure that'll come into play at some point on how we dance around the submarine nets with this. But yeah, we'll find some things.
Yes. Joe, you've had some images of the wall that I'd like you to share, if you could, when we're talking about the seawall types and the conditions.
Yes. Now, Paul and I will both answer this question together, but these images show seawalls of different heights, and that's because the Maynard Ave goes up and comes down. It also bellies out in the Orleans Brinsley area, which really is the lowest lying section of wall. Although this wall was originally built to be 11 feet tall, or elevation 11, excuse me, it has settled. The survey for this project has shown that it's settled almost a foot in some places. In a couple other places, it's slightly above 11. But if there were ever a time, now is the time. The mayor has walked the seawall. He understands this needs to be a full replacement, a holistic replacement, and he wants to make sure that all of the direct abutters' property is protected. But this seawall also protects Maynard Ave, one of the egress routes out of Howes Neck. If we're constructing on C Street or there's an issue on C Street, in certain locations, this is the way out. So this wall does more than just protect the 60 properties plus the properties behind on Stoughton and some of the other feeder streets.
Right. Yeah, I recently went out with a letter about a week ago, not just to Maynard, but Stoughton and Babcock and the whole area to give them a heads up on where we're at. It's a long process with permitting. And to get going, we want to get everything going, and we want to make sure the design is ready, and we're ready to go with this. But yeah, it affects, I mean, that Stoughton Street area, Babcock Street area, it's all filled in over the years. There were ponds in that Stoughton Street area. There's a Lennox Street marsh that empties out of Manette Lake, and it comes right out there at the end of Babcock, right down by the Willows. So it's very vulnerable to floods when we get hit really hard down there. So we're taking a look at the whole area.
Well, I was going to mention to Paul, and maybe you could address the low-lying areas beyond the wall.
Sure. So in addition to the wave action that we spoke about, we also have to worry about rainfall intensity. And we all see the rainfall intensity is getting more pronounced. So we're designing the wall for a 100-year rainfall event. And all the drainage behind the wall that's coming from low-lying areas that receive rain will be able to drain through the wall better. So there's several pipes that go through the wall. So rather than upgrade them later, we're taking the opportunity to upgrade them for a 100-year storm event. And on the first phase of the wall, we did the same thing, and it's drainage has been great. And then any splash over that comes over the wall will also get into the same drainage system. So the low-lying areas will benefit from drainage as well. But those pipes, during a high tide, there'll be tide gates that'll prevent the water from going through. So the storm of 2018, we had a significant high tide and a heavy rainfall event at the same time. Those are the trouble storms that we all know about.
And of course, just last week, I believe, or a couple days ago, we did have a rainstorm here, and it was almost tropical in nature. So the rain came
Right.
down quickly and with great intensity. So you can certainly
Right.
see exactly what you're talking
Right.
about.
The storm in 2018, there was a high tide, and we got 4 inches of rain, 2 inches before high tide, and 2 inches after high tide. So that created a lot of problems.
And I guess one of my thoughts is, I guess as you're mapping this area out, when I would think 100 years of patching is probably enough patching. Clearly, you've come to that conclusion as well. Is it uncommon for a municipality to wait that long to repair a wall, or to simply not redo a wall, not repair the wall?
The typical wall has a 75-year life to it.
So we've got an
Concrete.
added 25 years.
So it depends on how the wall performs to wave action. In the picture that Joe showed, the revetment stone receives significant wave action, and that stone is in sand. So over time, that will just settle into the sand, and you don't want to undermine the wall that's behind it, because then the wall will settle. That's what happened on the Adam Shore wall. The proposed wall that we're building, like the last wall, is being constructed on piles, helical piles. So all that wave action won't impact it at all. So again, we're designing that foundation for a 2070 tide event.
And I suppose the life expectancy now of the wall that is proposed?
Oh, that'll be 75 to 100 years.
Okay.
It's all concrete, precast concrete, reinforced concrete, helical piles, and all brand new revetment stone.
The funding for this, how is this paid for?
That is an excellent question. We're proud to say we've got a portion of the funding already covered. This is about an $18 million effort all in.
Yeah.
The way that the funding process works, especially for the constituents, is that there's a funding package for the wall itself that we seek state and federal funds for its construction. Then there is a funding package that is a local authorization for any of the elements on the wall that are private property. The state will not pay to replace a gazebo. However, that's a very important element to our constituents. That's part of what makes where they live very important. So the city is accommodating all of those components on top of the wall on private property in the total project cost. So when we say 18, that's the all-in estimate at this time. We want to make sure that we communicate to everybody when they look at the drawings. There are two sets of drawings. There's one that is the state and federal funding set that may not show gazebos or other stairways that are on private property. That doesn't mean we're eliminating them and they're not coming back. They are within the project. We're very happy to say we have about $5 million in hand so far. There's an Executive Office of Environmental Affairs grant for $4 million that has come through for the construction. And then Congressman Lynch had also gotten a $750,000 line item. So the engineering work that is being done right now is being paid for from grants. The original engineering work was done through a city council transfer from the Sewer and Drain Rehabilitation Fund. So we talk about how developers in the city pay 1% of their building permit fee into a redevelopment fund, often used to fund neighborhood projects, not downtown Quincy, Wollaston, or North Quincy projects. So to this point to date, the work has been done on either grants or redevelopers mitigation money. And that's through the strategy that's been created and a number of city council approvals and the mayor's direction.
Yeah, and it's a must to, we'll figure it out, as we grow, as Joe's talking about grants and other funding that we'll get. When I look at Edgewater Drive, that was completed. Up to Chickatobit from the Willows, now from the Willows down to Perry Beach. We've hit all the major spots down in House Neck. There are a few other seawalls areas that might need some repair work down the road. But this is really huge for those Manat residents to get that done and make sure that Manat Ave is refortified. It's like we've kind of dropped everything the last 5 or 6 years and went after this to make sure this was done properly, because it's
I was going to say
very important.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, what is the timeline for residents, both during the construction and, I suppose, a date to completion?
Yeah, I think you have that in the
That is
slide
an excellent
packet.
question, yes. And I greatly appreciate your first question, because we're right on the cusp of some key communications. I understand the councilor has made a number of letter drops recently.
Yeah, I went out with that letter to everybody down there, and now I'm going out with another notification that just talks about the process where there'll be some dual sign-offs to get it going. The solicitor's office will be involved. These gentlemen will be involved to talk to each neighbor, going right up Manat Ave all the way down to Perry Beach, and discuss the whole layout, what has to be replicated, what's a Quincy parcel, what isn't a Quincy parcel. There's 7 parcels, not much on Manat Ave. It's a lot of private. It's 53 to 7. But we did the same thing again with phase 1, and I think the lessons learned with that will just help us as we go down and make sure everybody understands and everybody's involved all the way down the Manat Ave as we go along. And that's coming sooner than later now.
So as of today, the project is about 90% designed, largely based on what we learned in the first phase. We have entered into an agreement with Tetra Tech Engineering. They're helping us, along with Joe, on the permitting. We've applied for the first major permit through the MEPA process at the state level. There's a public process associated with that. And then we'll go to local Concom hearings. There'll be more public meetings. So the public will have plenty of opportunities to weigh in on the proposed project.
And also, Mark, people, it's a long process. So sometimes you get criticized, like it's going to get done next week, and it's not going to get done next week. But, to do it right and make sure it's right, to secure the funding, to make sure the design's done, that way we can go into these meetings and feel really comfortable with the whole layout and not leave anything out. That might have been left out on phase 1, that we had to come back and do a few things. So
I can't imagine that someone wouldn't sign off, but what if that were the case?
I don't know. If someone wouldn't sign off, I don't know. That would be a Jim Timmons city solicitor type question. But
Yeah.
I think they all. I don't know if we ran into that in phase one.
So if somebody didn't sign off, we would build a wall around their property. And
Right.
it would leave a hole. Their yard would be the first one to flood. So it was time consuming. It took almost a year to get all the sign offs in the last phase. That wall was about 8,000 feet long, so it's twice as long. So
So I guess as the counselor that would receive complaints about flooding in this area, these residents, what have they said recently? What have their concerns been? In other words, has this proposal met with great support?
Oh, definitely. I think the inconvenience of being on the beach, when the tide's out, working down on the beach, when that all starts up, we'll hear about it a little bit more, but it's the only time you can really do it. Most of the work, I believe, is going to be on that beach, down below Manat Ave. The flooding areas at the beginning of Babcock and Manat, that was an area that always concerned us, and then down at Brinsley, and they're dying for this project to get going. It's been a while, and we've talked about it, and we knew we had to do it. So there hasn't been really. It's just been a waiting game a little bit until we got there. There hasn't been too much, too many issues or anybody really not understanding, but the process is lengthy. Sometimes I've gone to these guys and said, when can we have the community meeting? We should, and we got to wait a little bit. We got to make sure we got these permits. We're not ready yet. As Paul said, we're at 90% design, so we're almost there, and we're probably there. No, they all understand that this is coming. This is only going to benefit them, and really secure Manat Ave, which has to have some erosion issues down below as we go along to refortify that whole avenue all the way down. So it is an egress out of the neck if there's an issue. We don't want to have any problems over there, and I guess now's the time.
And with that said, we're just at the end of the program, and certainly as the project goes forward, I'd like to bring you back in for updates along the way. But that leads me to how folks can stay up to date with the happenings with the Manat Ave seawall.
Well, I'm sure we're going to take this, if it's not already there, goes up on the website, it'll go under the Ward 1 News. There's a lot of things there, and you've got to reiterate to people to go take a look. We've got everything under the sun on Ward 1 News or on the Quincy website. And, when I do my mailings and my updates, I'll reiterate to go to that website or contact either one of us with any questions they have as we start to go along,
We'll take this from Councillor Ash. I actually sat down with him on location in Ward 2 at Faxon Park. So I will sit on location with you on Manat Ave and possibly do an update from there once the project.
We'll wait
gets
for a
going.
nor'easter.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
that
then
will
we'll
make
go
for
down
great
and we'll get the full
TV.
effect. We'll get the full effect, Mark. But no, that sounds great.
Sound good? Good. Dave, thank you. Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
And Joe, thank you as well. Informative program, and I'm sure the residents will benefit from this information greatly. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching, and please remember to support Quincy Access Television for more of the programming that you just saw here today. Take care.